Friends of NRA is your chance to support our Second Amendment rights and preserve America's hunting traditions. Join Friends of NRA at one of our 600 exciting events nationwide. From games to auctions and exclusive firearms, Friends of NRA events are your chance to support a cause you care about while having a great time with patriots in your community. Whether you're a seasoned shooter, an avid hunter or outdoorsman, or passionate about freedom, there's a place for you within Friends of NRA. Visit friendsofnra.org to find an event near you. Stand up for freedom with the Friends of NRA.
Everyone, thanks for listening to the Western Hunting Hub podcast. A couple quick things before we get started. Make sure you head on over to Colorado's Wildlife Deserve Better. The campaign is heating up, and they need some donations to get things rolling. And Coloradans, you are the ones that need to have those conversations. But those of us outside of the state can help donate. That's probably one of the best things we can do. Give some money to help with those campaigns, because it's going to change a lot of things. And if you are, well, I'm not a cat hunter kind of person, realize that how the legislation that is written can replace mountain lions with elk, moose, bighorn sheep, that sort of thing. And you think, oh, that's not going to happen. Think again, what is the difference between using this ad that has mountain lions in it to the ones with bighorn sheep, or let's say even mountain goats that are alongside a trail and people are like feeding them and doing that sort of thing? Looks like that could be a thing if that were to pass, and to allow the antis to just keep on rolling with the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. So this is the biggest fight that really I guess our hunting community has had to deal with, and I think it's one that we have actually a leg to stand on, and one we always have a leg to stand on, but we have quite a bit in this game, and there's a way of winning it. The antis are well funded, but it looks like we are becoming that way as well. So Colorado's Wildlife Deserve Better is the place to go. That is a direct message from Howl to make sure Howl.org suggested that we send money to that organization. That would be the best way to get, the most effective way. Again, also, I sent a little donation to the Coloradans for Responsible Wildlife Management. That one as well is there. Another place to send a little money. So they recommend $50. $50 to go a long ways, but as many people as possible. So let's get started with my thoughts on something we've already covered a little bit. The previous episode with Marty from Iron Will. Ooh, these broadheads are sharp. And these ones have gone through. Holy smokes. Sorry, I'm messing around with my arrows as I chat, and boy, am I excited. I'm losing my train of thought, seeing something cool and wanted to talk about it. So we had an episode with Marty Smith from Iron Will, and just a really cool conversation, fun conversation. And I wasn't planning on buying any Iron Wills because of the price point. I was like, can't do it, not going to happen, all that sort of thing. My arrow setup, obviously great, was too close to the season to be messing with. So I was happy with what I had. Shooting all spring and summer, and things are good. Liking where those arrows are going. But when you put on broadheads, the issues show. This happens a lot. So do not screw this up. Your season up is what I mean. And not shoot your broadheads. I think that's the most idiotic thing you could do in a long time is not shoot your broadheads. If you don't know what they are doing, then you're going to have some issues. And there was a podcast by Hoyt just recently, one of the last couple, where they had a bow shop owner from Arizona who recorded a whole bunch of data, and it had some fascinating findings, but it's not a true study, not even close. It's just a survey and showing some survey results, but from those survey results, it was giving a rough idea on wounding loss. And primarily, one of those big takeaways out of that thing was guys with fixed blades get more wounding loss than guys with mechanicals. And it was a big, bold statement. And probably the reason why that is has nothing to do with it being a mechanical or a uh, fixed blade. It's that fixed blade requires just a little bit more practice, knowing what they and require some more tuning. Most guys' bows, I'm sure, are just a little out of tune, just like mine was, because I didn't really know how to. I still don't know how to do that. I don't know when shims need to go in. I don't know when I need to add a little twist to the yoke. I don't know all of that stuff. Uh, Troubleshooting that is difficult. That's why we have pro shops to be able to take them in there, do that sort of work. Don't take it to some guy that works at Sportsman's Warehouse and he's a teacher during the day and a bow shop tech at night. He could be great, probably not the best. So I would highly suggest going to somebody who, if you got a pro shop around that's been around archery and understands archery really well. So especially not Cabela's, not going there to do that. That store kind of drives me nuts sometimes with their customer service. So I know I had that episode, but I had to talk more about arrows because it's such a fun topic and one that is so important to a lot of us right now as we're getting ready to head out on our hunts. And September is a week away for me right now. Nope, 27th. It's 27th, less than that. It's coming up quick. So we've got to get things dialed. And if you haven't screwed on broadheads, you're way behind the game, and you better plan to have some hours behind your bow. Seriously, some good hours behind your bow. But I found some interesting things. I started shooting. I went into the bow shop and it was like I knew I had an arrow flying a little wonky. Just I could see it every once in a while, especially shooting at a black target. And so I went in and was like, hey, I got some flyers that are flying a little goofy. Shot it through paper, and my bow tech said, "Can you leave this with me?" I didn't. He couldn't figure it out right away, so came back and he said, "Guess what? We need to do some knock tuning. We need to mess with this and that." And after looking around, I realized that you know what? I think I'm just underspined. And chatting with Marty again, he said, "Dude, I think you're underspined. You don't have a stiff enough arrow that can handle. That's why you're getting some paper tears that are some left, some down, some left, some down. It was consistent but inconsistent. So that made it really hard to tune. It could have been maybe just some knock tuning, and I'll explain what that is here in a little bit. But it most likely was some stiff arrows. So 2 weeks before the season, 3 weeks before the season, I went and bought brand new arrows, and I called up Marty, said it's time for me to buy some iron wills. So called up their customer service person, and here I am with a whole lot of money in the Schneider Core system. Uh, Pretty crazy to see this engineering, and this is pretty cool. The components, the glue in, oh my gosh, the glue in is a way to go. And then how sharp these little broadheads are. I'm pretty pumped about it. The fletchings, they are quiet. They're pretty sweet. So I'm thinking this arrow is gonna fly. It is flying great. I know it's flying great, and pretty quiet. And then I had to add add a little weight to it. So I went up to a total of 500 grains, or it's 499 on some. Pretty darn close to being too heavy. But 32-inch slip draw length, 70-pound bow. These things are going to be hitting so stinking hard. It's going to be awesome. So here's what I did. So don't screw this up by not shooting your broadheads. And before I talk about that, I want to also tell a little story of a time when tuning was an issue. My last bow, I didn't realize that arrows were flying similarly, kind of kicking out a little bit. You could say that was knock left. They were flying a little goofy, still hitting my point. Everything was great. Thought so it was great. And on my elk hunt, I had a little bull come in, two bulls that I snuck down in, and they kind of were coming a little closer to me. I had the decoy on the bow. They dropped down to catch my wind. The one boogered out of there. The other one didn't catch my wind, so it backed off. But then I saw the decoy just kept pacing back and forth at 40 to 50 yards, wondering, what is that? What is that? How do I get over there? How come you're not acting like a regular cow? Come over here. And he kind of paced back and forth, and he eventually gave me a nice broadside shot right at 40 yards, and I smoked him. It was a little far back, but not, it was still long area. And then, I mean, this bull was facing left. So as my broadhead was coming out of the bow, knock left, it hit just a little far back. And then the arrow deflected all the way to the broadhead, went into the back quarter, the hind quarter on the opposite side. Uh, Huge deflection, and you would think maybe that was a rib, could have been, but it probably would have flown in a little bit better had that arrow been going in straight. So because of that, I didn't find that bull for a couple of days, and by that time it was no good. So kind of a sad story. There's a couple of shoulda, coulda, wouldas in that whole situation. There is that recording back in 21 or 22. I think that was 22 when that happened. So I that bull is my last archery bull, and it's 22. Yep, that's 2022. So last archery bull, and it's kind of got a sour taste in my mouth for elk hunting, and I'm a little nervous about stuff like that happening again. But I feel more confident with my bow setup and having something that's tuned correctly. So to prevent that issue on a deer and elk, you need to be shooting your broadheads. So I kind of had a lot of fun making this appropriate setup. My arrows came in, the components came in. Honestly, it doesn't matter at what price point this is. Yeah, these are like 55 to $60 an arrow now with broadheads. A little cheaper with field points, but they're still iron will field points. This is ridiculous. This is expensive. I think you could do, I know you can do this entire process still with far cheaper setup. You do not need to go with these iron wills. You do not need to go with the fletchings or the practice points. They're great and awesome, and I'm excited about having them. But a budget thing here is it's a tough deal to. I haven't lost one of these yet or damaged one, but it's gonna hurt a little bit. So that's if you can swing it, man, I'm pumped about having these, but it's an expensive thing. So um that's the thing is that I want you to know that what I'm talking about is you can do this at any price point. So again, shooting all summer, never showed any issues. Some little squirrely things, and so I had some fun making a paper tuning setup. So what I did in the garage, very simply, I took my target, I set it up on my workbench, so it was eye level, chest level. Took a couple of one bys and screwed them to make just a picture frame. Uh, with the wood going horizontal instead of vertical picture frame. So it made a big box, hung that up from the ceiling, just kind of on a hinge, and put some carabines, a hook and some carabiners on the bottom, so it's got a little weight to it. And then I can swing that up and I put a hook on the ceiling and hook it and get it out of the way. Or next time I want to do some paper tuning. And then I've got this big roll of packing paper. I think you could do this with literally wax paper, parchment paper, anything like that, butcher paper. So what I did is I had that big roll, pulled it up, and that frame was so big I could shoot 30 times into that paper. So it was a little overkill, but really sweet setup. And so I pulled that up, took some little clamps, clamped it down, and just started shooting. The first thing I wanted to do was paper tune with that and make sure all my tears were consistent. So after getting that stiffer arrow, fletching everything, I was getting some consistent tears. You will notice your grip can mess with some of those tears a little bit. So just because you get one knock left tear doesn't mean that arrow's exactly that. You need to shoot it again and see what it's doing. After you get some consistency, you're good. Then what you can do is, on your knock, there is on one side of it a little bump. That little bump is designed to be pointed at you. So you can have some consistency in where you're knocking. Then after that is, oh, I got one arrow that's not set up right. I see, as I'm holding this one. So that's going to be pointed at me. Anyway, when you put that arrow on your knock, shoot it, and then look at the tear, rotate the knock, shoot it, rotate the knock, shoot it, rotate the knock. Then look at the tears that it makes and pick out the one that looks the best, the most bullet hole like, and then do it again. Shoot it again and again and again until you find that where it's shooting a nice bullet hole, or it's got the least amount of tear to it, and put that arrow right there on that with that spine. So what we're trying to do is, because not arrows are perfectly spined all the way around, you have one inside that's a little stiffer than the other, is trying to align that so it flies the best out of your bow. The best option then for making adjustments is having a micro adjust rest. I've got the Hoyt integrated system, and that was pretty sweet for adjusting. So up and down tears, that's going to be a up and down rest adjustment. Left and right, obviously left and right. And the best thing you do, just go on Google and say paper tear, arrow paper tear adjustments, because I never remember which direction needs to go, because it's like opposite of chasing the arrow with your sight. So make sure you just Google that, make those micro adjustments, and shoot it again. And I bet you're going to be able to get that rest to make a bullet hole through the fletching tears. And then the other thing you can do is do that knock tuning, turn those knocks quarter turn, heck, eighth of a turn. I just did one 33-degree turn, so it was making it all the way around, because I got three fletchings. I just wanted to align it with those fletchings, and end up having just a three turns on there, and it was good enough. So that worked really well. Got things flying really nice. The whole idea is getting this arrow to fly straight. After that arrow is flying straight, it's gonna do what it needs to when it has a sail on the end of it. That's the thing that a lot of guys aren't realizing, is your arrows are not necessarily coming out straight. And with some decent FOC front and center on there, like 16, 15, 16 is the minimum I'd go, 15%, a little better. 14, 13, 12. I'm not sure what is too much, but I'm sitting at like 12 to 13%. And I've noticed a big difference in that arrow in the front of it, or the weight in the front of it. I know I got a full different setup that's giving different results, but I did notice that the weight of this forward is pretty substantial, and that arrow's flying pretty darn good. So getting a decent FOC on there is pretty nice. I was concerned, really, really concerned about going up 25 grains or so. Maybe I'm 20 grains. It's not even a big deal. I didn't even put a different tape on. And that sounds like that's way, way wrong. But seriously, it's not flying. I've still got a little tuning to do. I might go one tape up or down, whichever way you're looking at it, just to get things a little bit more accurately, but I can't tell quite yet. I shot at 80 the other day, and nope, 70 the other day, and I was maybe 3 inches low, but at 70, I got to keep shooting a little bit more just to get a better idea. The other thing that you can do is, after that, to continue the tuning process, I took what Marty suggested with the bear shaft, is I left one of these new arrows unfletched, and then I took some tape and I took a full arrow, put it on my arrow scale. Then I put the fletchless arrow on my arrow scale and saw the weight difference. I added some tape where those fletchings would be until that arrow is the exact same weight in the back as the fletch arrow. And then I shoot that right alongside my other arrows. And I can see how well that thing flies and where, if it's going to land in the same place as the other arrows. So you can make some little adjustments there to get things flying a little bit differently as well, to um not differently, the more similarly. So getting those guys to fly the same as your fletched ones. And that's a great way to bear shaft tune. I know that was Marty's method to do that. I honestly like the paper tuning. The paper tuning made more sense to me, even though bear shaft tuning might be simpler. Um, the paper tuning was, honestly, I think it took a lot more air out of it. And could be way wrong here because there's a lot of little grip things that are going to give you a different paper tune. But I saw more issues with that than how I knew what to do with it, more so than what with a bear shaft. So, um, and then the next step after that was shoot 20 to 80 with broadheads. So I have yet to shoot 60 plus with the broadheads, but everything is looking really, really good. There was all kinds of little fun things I was doing with these arrows to when putting them together, spin testing them, making sure those broadheads were on their square, the fletchings were good, the nock tuning, all kinds of fun things with building these. And if you like reloading ammunition, this is kind of like that for the archer, just having a fun time setting these arrows up and then making them work for your bow and getting things all dialed and ready to go. So I wanted some consistency with this. And if you don't have proper tuning in your bow, you're going to show that as soon as you throw your broadheads on, unless your broadheads are mechanicals. And that's the last thing I'll say with this podcast is all else fails, shoot mechanical. If you are throwing stuff on right before the season and haven't had a chance to shoot anything, throw a mechanical on. That's going to be your best bet. And if I had zero tuning done, and I've always said I didn't really want to shoot a mechanical at a elk, but if I had no tuning done and no broadhead practice, a mechanical would be going on for sure. So thanks for listening to my rambling, and hope you enjoy messing around with those last minute archery builds, and hopefully you can get that done ahead of time before the season begins. Thanks for listening.
To the land, but it ain't my ground. This is God's country.